The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max NXT Review.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling to the Max's NXT review for July 26th, 2017. And of course, we are brought to you by the W2Mnet.com as well as 411mania.com. And we're going to give you guys a heads up. If you don't usually listen to our show and you're wanting to find more of our content and maybe become a regular listener, make sure you go and subscribe, rate, and review at Wrestling to the Max, wherever you get your podcast from. Maybe you hit up Apple Podcasts, just hit 5 stars and give us a comment. And of course, that always helps us get the word out about the show, kind of gives us those ratings that gives people an idea of what we're all about. And of course, also to let you know, we do have a YouTube channel as well, just Wrestling to the Max, and you'll get right there, hit the subscribe button as well. And if you like everything over there at the W2Mnet.com, don't forget, the W2M Network is also a place you can go rate, review, and of course, subscribe. So, of course, I am Gary Vaughan, and your host tonight is Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
And Paul, we're coming to everybody a night later. We kind of had a busy day, the normal day we do this, which is a Thursday night, of course, available Friday morning. But hey, Saturday morning is just as good for everybody, I'm sure. And I'm excited about talking NXT. We had a great main event we're going to get into and a lot more. So let's go ahead and get the show on the road.
Yeah, this interesting episode begins with Ember Moon coming out for a match to face off against the debuting Lei'd Tapa, long rumored to be possible participant in the Mae Young Classic. They just bring her straight on NXT. And her first appearance is just to job to Ember Moon, which is done about a minute and a half. So maybe not what people were expecting, because she does sort of have a name. But Ember Moon makes quick work of her.
It was a huge surprise, Paul. I really didn't expect this to take place in this formula, only because of the fact that you have seen Lei'd Tapa. We've seen her in different places. I think the most notable for me is Impact Wrestling, right?
Right.
I remember that, and I know on the indie circuit, a big name. So it's interesting that they went this route, but let's think about the real case here, and that is the fact that they are trying to put Ember Moon in a situation where she looks like she is right on the same level as Asuka. So she's got to take on these big names or people that we may know of and be able to defeat them, take them in a quicker fashion. And I think that, was the case here, and they proved the point. I think also with Lei'd Tapa really hasn't been a part of NXT. Being a new face, it's not going to be a big deal. Most likely, no one's going to remember that she was beaten quick fashion. I think it's just kind of cool to see her be there, be a part of NXT, and I think later on dominance will take place for her. But right now, Ember Moon is the basically the main point of that whole division for the ladies in NXT. So I get it, but still shocked that Lei'd Tapa was the one worked out in quick fashion.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me. I don't think she ever showed us anything in her Impact Wrestling run, or she was also a big proponent or a big star for Global Force Wrestling before they became what they are today. So, time in the Performance Center is probably what's going to be best for her. I think you're right, though. Long term, I think is what they're looking at here with Lei'd Tapa. She's the daughter of Barbarian. She's got the look, I think, of somebody who, could be triple tough inside the ring and all that stuff, too. So I think time is her ally right now, even though I'm not dead sure how old she is, but time and training, I think, is what she needs the most of right now.
And the age thing was something I was kind of thinking about as well, because of the fact that, we're going to see this in times to come of the older ladies coming into the promotion because, well, guess what? Sometimes it takes a little while to get to the indie circuit to get noticed and things like that. I get that. But, also being a person that has a name, I was a little bit surprised. I think, like, we're kind of getting to here is that whole transformation that NXT is going to do to her. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes me very interested in seeing that process because we've kind of seen her in one formula, and that formula is big, tough, scream. That's pretty much it. You don't see much else of Lei'd Tapa. I would like to see them give her more of a personality, give her more of a reason to be dominant. It's okay if she becomes the AOP, I guess, of the ladies division, but I don't know. I think that she can grow a little, and I think she can do more than that,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like we were just saying, though. I mean, time, training, all that good stuff. She's 34, by the way, so maybe not one that might be long for the training department, but she could be more ready than we're aware of, right? Like, this is just a squash. So.
No. Well, yeah, that is true. And even this division needs those people to come in and have the younger talent work against, right? I mean, if nothing else, she's maybe a Fish or some of these other guys like what was that? With several guys that have been here that are older that have come in just to really help the young talent, and that could be the case for her too.
Could be the case. Could very well be the case. After this dominating performance from Ember Moon, she gets on the microphone. She wants a rematch with Asuka at TakeOver. Back to Brooklyn 3, whatever the crap we're talking about here. And says she's going to give Asuka all she wants, and she's ready to beat the Undefeated, and all this good stuff. Later on in the evening, Ember Moon makes it official. Or William Regal makes it official. He's the one who calls shots around here, not Ember Moon. So that's your women's title match for NXT. Asuka's going to be on the show next week. I'm really excited for this. Their first match was great. They've had terrific matches before in the past. Brooklyn is the big show. I wager they're going to let them go all out.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, this is going to be something that they're really going to try their best to build to be really strong, and they're trying. I mean, once again, we talk about this all the time. Ember Moon being away, being injured, has really kind of hurt her momentum, really, honestly, and it's affected this feud in a huge way, I think. I think people have kind of forgotten a little bit, or maybe it's just not been anything important because it's taken breaks, and that's not always a good thing, but they're trying. They're doing their best, and I think once we get to that point of actually seeing Brooklyn and what's taking place in that match, I think we will be excited. I think it's going to give us something that will be pleasurable, not only the best, be something that I think we could remember. We'll see. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this is going to land completely flat. I mean, I think there is that percentage in this that it could land flat, but I would wager to it being better than flat. So I'm excited too. And I think it's funny. You kind of said, whatever they're calling this Brooklyn show, TakeOver Brooklyn or whatever. It would be so awesome if they kind of start putting on those like 80s to 90s action movie little tags at the end, like NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 blood splatter, things like that. I would love it, man. That would be a great sell.
I will give all my money to whatever promotion will name one of their shows so-and-so 2 or 3 or whatever number it happens to be, and then just put Electric Boogaloo on the end of it. That would be worth all the dollars that they're asking.
See, Global Force, you got your money in hand if you do that. So, come on, get it. Slammiversary, Electric Boogaloo.
I'll be there in a heartbeat. I really would.
You heard it here first, people. Hold Paul to it.
We get a video package for Aleister Black where he talks about all of the stuff that I think just sort of makes him right now. It's mysterious and dark and sounds like he's not really alone inside his human vessel. So, interesting stuff going on there. Sanity, first off, the Authors of Pain are about to come down for a squash match. Sanity jumps in, beats up those guys, and then we have a quick brawl with the Authors that the Authors get the upper hand on, and leads pretty much to Nikki Cross trying to hold Sanity back as they beat a hasty retreat. This, an interesting choice, I think. the Authors of Pain, clearly heels. I don't know really where Sanity sits right now, but they've been booked as heels. So if this is the tag title match for Brooklyn, I'm excited because big guys, and I'm scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of like Clash of the Titans. You want to see this. You want to see both these big, strong teams take, advantage of this big stage and really get in there and mix it up. But the problem really does lay on the end of who's really the bigger heel. Because they're not faces at all. I mean, Sanity's been pretty much evil since they walked in the door, and AOP doesn't care who they hurt. That they're in it just to win it and destroy. So it's tough. It really is, and you always want to root for somebody. In this case, I have a feeling it's going to be AOP that people are going to be cheering for. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not good. I don't know. I don't know the way that they want these teams to be or go, or what even direction either of them are heading. All we know about AOP is the simplicity of the fact that they're dominant and they hold the tag titles. Sanity, we know that they'll do anything to ruin whatever someone's got going on, whoever it is, single star, tag teams, they don't care either, but yet they're kind of the team that doesn't always get the upper hand. In this case, like we saw in this NXT, they looked great coming in there and beating up the jobber team, but as soon as they faced AOP, they kind of got their heads handed to them. So I once again, is Sanity one of those teams that's going to take a step forward and take two back every time they do something? I hope not. I want to see them do bigger, badder stuff, but I'm a little bit worried going into this and seeing what they're going to do at TakeOver if they do face AOP, because I have a feeling AOP would be the victorious one.
I would think so, too, just because they are the hot act as far as the tag division goes right now. I think that's who both sides of the WWE is pretty high on, both NXT and main roster people. So making sure that they continue to look strong until they, once again, have a team that they feel like is worthy of dethroning them at this point. Probably what they're going to go with here.
I agree. And this tag division is still having to work things out. There's really a lot of rebirth that has to be taking place within the bottom part of the tag division. Until then, they're going to have to deal with this, and we're going to have to deal with maybe some of these storylines or maybe some of these feuds not making all the sense in the world. But hey, I still think it's going to be a fun match to watch, if it does take place.
Absolutely. We then get a video package for the Street Profits. They continue to show a different side of themselves every time in these videos, which I appreciate, right? It's how you get multifaceted characters, easy for me to say. Especially because a couple weeks ago I was saying they just look like Second Coming Crime Time. I would say that's not so anymore.
Yeah, they're not. I was kind of worried like you were. Is this just some rehash gimmick? Is it going to be, stereotypical and all that type of stuff? And I'm glad it's not. It seems a lot more interesting than that to me. So, I think everybody watching kind of feels the same way. If you're like I am, you're interested. You want to kind of know more, but they don't give you so much that you kind of already get it. And that's kind of cool. It kind of keeps you hanging, wanting for more.
Absolutely. So we return back to the scene of the crime for Almas, I guess, with Cesar Bononi's upset over him a couple months ago. They recap the attack from last week, and we see No Way Jose arriving at Full Sail when he's confronted by Thea Trinidad, whose new name is now Zelina Vega, which is easy enough to remember, I hope, because I'm probably still going to end up calling her Thea for a while. But she lets Jose know that he made a mistake getting into their business last week, and it looks like Almas is going to be the one coming after Jose in the near future to sort of get the receipt for sticking the nose in the business there. So interesting stuff there. And then cut to Velveteen Dream squashing Cesar Bononi in about a minute and a half here, too. This guy changing your mind, Indy, and all, it's really hard, I think, to do that with just squash matches. But I don't know, like the live crowd seems kind of dead to him right now still, too.
Yeah, they're just not really getting into it, and I hope it's not one of those situations they kind of feel like I do, where we've seen this gimmick before and all, but I just don't know. The Velveteen Dream, he's winning, but how impressive are those wins? I don't know, Paul, that I can sit here right now and say, oh man, that was super impressive, or man, he made them look like a fool. I just kind of see a guy going out there, doing a few moves, getting the squash, but nothing that's just blows me away. And I don't think it's blowing away the crowd. I just don't. I don't know if it's not the gimmick or if it's just a style of wrestling that he's putting in place here. It's just not all that inspiring. And I worry, and that's why I've been worried about this the whole time. I'll be honest with you, I love the Patrick Clark gimmick. That was great because he was just a smart aleck, know-it-all jerk, and I love to hate him. Velveteen Dream, it's almost like something that's kind of forced. And it's just not working for me. It hasn't since day one. I've been trying to give him chances, but it's still not working.
I think pieces are there. He gets another attempted interview. Not impressed with the interviewer. Doesn't want to talk in front of the ugly NXT universe. I think he knows what he wants. Like, the gimmick is there. There's just nothing for him to play off of right now, right? He's just a dude winning matches right now, and I don't know if it's because they don't know who to feud him with right now, or they don't want to jumpstart him too quick because, everybody else is sort of established in a way. But, I don't know, like, there's something here, right, that's worth digging into. They just haven't done it yet, and I don't know if it's simply because they don't know what to do with it.
Does he impress you as a wrestler in general?
I think he wrestles very slow, and I think that's done on purpose. But he's flashy at times, so I think he's mediocre. Like, he's not great, but I wouldn't call him bad.
No, and I don't think he's bad either. I really don't. I think he deserves the spot that he has. Right? He's a mid-card guy, I guess you would say, in NXT. But just, another guy. He doesn't feel like he really stands out a lot. A little bit more than the average Joe. He's got a gimmick that I think does stand out to an extent. But he's not standing out so much that, hey, Gary, name, 6 NXT guys, he wouldn't be on my list.
Right.
Name 10 NXT guys, he wouldn't be on my list. It'd probably take 20. And I feel bad for that, but it's just because it doesn't stand out enough. Once again, we're going to try to give him time. We're going to try to wait this thing out to see maybe he needs to hit the right feud. Maybe they're just trying to get him in front of us, get him, around the point where he feels comfortable about having a bigger feud. And that's great. That's fine. And actually, he still gets to be a jerk. He still calls the audience ugly. All those things work. That's really, kind of, I guess you'd say, cheap heat. But, it is what it is with him, The other guy, Cesar Bione, I can't even say that. I shouldn't even attempt it. I'm glad at least that we are getting to see some of this new talent. And he interests me. And now I'm not saying I'm becoming a fan of his or anything. I'm interested. I want to see what else that they want to do with that guy. Is he just another job guy, or is he actually here to try to, get around TV, get his feet under him, and see what he's going to do? So he's another guy to pay attention to. And I do want to mention before we move on past this, the Xena thing. I think it's really a great addition, like we talked about in the past. But not only that, it's really cool to see her interact on behalf of Almas. It really is. Finally, we're getting that, because you told me that's probably going to be the case. They're probably going to be the mouthpiece. She's probably going to be the one that's being interacting with most of these other talents, and that's exactly what we got here. You get No Way Jose kind of walking into the NXT arena, just kind of like, okay, So I like all that. It makes sense to me. We'll see where it goes. I think this is really going to do a lot of great things for Almas.
Yeah, I think so too. It's the right thing for the gimmick. I feel like it's somebody to come in who he clearly has a history with, and there's that to tease out, along with the fact that she can talk for him and he can talk in the ring, because that's really where he does his best. And if he's hesitant to learn English, at least now it's not as imperative, maybe to say. I mean, obviously, I think he should still learn the language, not just because, that's what we speak here, but because, it's related to your job now, and if they ever decide to break this up, you wouldn't be so hosed, having to rely on just, speaking Spanish and all this other stuff. So, and I guess quickly to touch on Cesar Bononi, I see what WWE sees, right? He's a tall guy, he's got the look, and all this other stuff, but for now, I mean, he's just been a job guy, so telling the bigger parts of the equation aren't really there right now. But I think, WWE clearly has him tipped for something, because he's on NXT more often than not these days. So,
What's the other guy's name? And the same, basically, level, and he's the guy that's from Hawaii. I cannot remember his name. Every time I see him, I kind of think he's like the Rock Light. He wears the shark tooth necklace thing. I can't remember it, but he's another guy.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's been on there before. I can't remember his name. He's either from Hawaii or Samoa, or I don't even know. He's been around a few times. We've seen him wrestle, but just usually, he's the fall guy. So, when next time I see him, I'll point him out. But anyway, these are the kind of guys that WB definitely wants you to see. They want you kind of to see where they're at. And that's
Kona Reeves, that's who you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's Kona Reeves. Hey, another guy, you kind of curious. You wonder what they got going with him. But, hey, until they move him into a spot that he can fill, hey, it's good to have these kind of guys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So two more things. This first thing here, Drew McIntyre gets the promo to come out and talk about how he's got the title match now at NXT Brooklyn 3 with Bobby Roode, and he's here to sort of do basically what Cena does, and that's rile up the crowd and get you behind him. He thinks everybody who supported him since he was the chosen one, at that time he thought everything was supposed to be given to him. Since then, he's learned that he's owed nothing. He has to go out there and earn it all. And since then, he feels like he's become the hardest working man in not only pro wrestling, but the world in general, and hates that Bobby is sort of what he was the first time around, which is just this entitled attitude who believes everything should be given to him, that everything is going to be his. And he's out to prove that this isn't really Bobby Roode's NXT, it's everybody else's NXT, because we are NXT. And I'm sure Triple H had a big sheeted and grin on the back, because that's what he's been trying to get over forever.
Yeah, he really has. And, this whole thing, it's really, really positive for me. Watching this. I mean, think about this, when we actually had Drew McIntyre here before, and he was actually out there just kind of doing his thing, even as, the chosen one. And it wasn't like he was all that inspiring. I mean, he was kind of like a cookie cutter guy. I didn't really ever feel like he was some serious threat. Mm-hmm. And now, man, he has the passion in his voice. He cares. This is all about, him taking care of business. Like you mentioned the Cena thing. Yeah, he's kind of like Cena, kind of getting out there and really getting the crowd behind him. And that's not just anything you can do. I mean, not anybody can go out there and get people to get out of their seat or clap or cheer. You have to have that presence about you, that command of the room. And I think Drew McIntyre has learned that art. He knows how to command a room now. Mm-hmm. And so it's something I'm excited about seeing. We've seen this before, just not really in NXT a whole lot. Of course, lately in NXT, they haven't needed him to be on the mic that long. They just need him to cut a promo or just have a great match. And so this is great. Another good thing we got going for McIntyre, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing his big match at TakeOver.
Yeah, I think that match is another one that's guaranteed to be super great, just because we know what both guys can do in the ring. I feel like Galloway can work any style at this point, having watched his work on the indie scene since he left WWE, and now coming back, it feels like he's just super motivated to prove that he can do anything and everything that they ask of him, and whether that's be the champion or whether that's be just an upper tier guy, I think that's what he's ready to do. So looking forward to all that.
I am too. And when he hits the main roster, I just have to say this. Even if they don't put him in the world title hunt immediately, even if they kind of keep him around, the guy would be an excellent Intercontinental or U.S. champion. I mean, he would do that either title a great service. So
I agree with you entirely. And that leaves us with this last thing to talk about, which is the grudge match between Hideo Itami and Kassius Ohno. About 8 minutes. This, to me, just felt like teasing out the angle here. They go back and forth for a while. Itami, really, really violent. Eventually, it comes down to it. Itami looks to hit the GTS. Ohno escapes and hits the big rolling elbow. And once Hideo realizes he's in trouble, he just kicks Kassius square in the balls, forcing the DQ, and then hits, 3 GTSs before leaving. So the official heel turn is now here. Itami's a bad guy. Kassius Ohno has all the reason in the world to hate him. This feels like another Brooklyn match, whether if it's just a rematch or stip or whatever's going to happen there. I'm kind of into this. Itami is I don't know if I hate him, but I certainly want to watch him now, you know?
Well, yeah, and I think the reason I called this great in the intro, it really wasn't all about the match itself. Like you said, 8 minutes, back and forth, kind of did their thing. The reason I called it great, though, is because I love the fact that we had just that complete heel turn that definitely, I would almost call it a remarkably great performance from Hideo Itami by taking Ohno and just really punishing him. Make him feel all that aggression, make him feel all the pain that he's been through this entire time and through basically his entire NXT career because he's been injured and all these other things. I love it. It's kind of a way to get us really to hate Hideo Itami. And it's also a really positive for Kassius Ohno because guys like me who, have not followed Chris Hero, which is Kassius Ohno, don't follow him a lot on the indie circuit. Don't really try to buy into anything else. I'm trying just to buy into what he's giving me on NXT. I haven't been super impressed with maybe his promos and things like that. I don't really care a lot. This is where I start to care. This is where I start to have empathy for Kassius Ohno. This is where I can't wait to see him have a great match with a guy who's being a complete jerk, and I can actually put my chips behind Kassius and say, go, get him, guy. And that's really, really cool. And I'm happy because I think from here, this could be that launching point for Kassius Ohno that he's needed desperately since he stepped back in the door in NXT. Now, will it happen? I don't know. But I think it's a great opportunity, and I see something here that really could be a big positive for him. This guy already kind of has the babyface thing down in a way when it comes to, getting the crowd behind him and stuff because, like we talked about, he wears all the basketball jerseys and all the different colors, and he's inspiring by that, and he's kind of soft-spoken. So I think there's something there, and I'm really looking forward to it. Another match at, TakeOver Brooklyn that could be really, really awesome. I personally kind of hope it's a 2 out of 3 falls match.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I'd also be okay with it being like a knockout match or something like that, seeing as they're both known for hitting really, really hard. And that could, of course, leave the door open for so many other different things if they want to keep this going. But for me, I think what's really important to capitalize on all this is you have to have a really great babyface promo from Kassius Ohno where he comes out and talks about how you can't really save somebody from their own self-destruction because I don't think you want to tread on my best friend betrayed me so much because we've been getting that so much, not only in NXT, but on WWE TV and trying to present somebody turning their back on you in a different way, I think is very important here to making sure this doesn't feel like old hat, as much as I think people enjoy watching friends turn on each other and fight. I think it should be more like, I tried to help him. I let him know you're doing the wrong things, and he never listened. So now it's my turn to go in there and show him why he should have listened to me.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. I mean, you're right. I mean, we've already seen that whole thing over and over and over again. And I think, what you're saying here makes complete sense. You just basically have Kassius Ohno say, look, you didn't listen to me. If you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to show you why you should have, right? And that's what you're saying. And I think that's hopefully the direction they go. I don't even think they need to do the best friends thing. It's really, I don't know how much of best friends they were. They were just kind of, casual friends in a way. At least that's what I perceived. And, I don't like it when they try to push things and, it's not really there. So,
right.
I think, definitely a main event here that gave us a reason to get excited about, the next step. And that's good. That's positive. I was excited last week when we were talking about this match. So at least it keeps the progression going. Yeah.
I mean, and we're only, 2-3 weeks out from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn on the 19th. And we got some fun shows ahead of us still. So looking forward to more NXT next week.
Definitely. And so you guys can go check that out. Don't forget to go and find us on W2Mnet.com or 411mania.com. Hey, and make sure you go subscribe, rate, and review at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Plus, go ahead and go subscribe on YouTube at Wrestling to the Max. Man, we've had so much fun with you guys tonight. We hope you come back for more action. Until then, I am Gary Vaughan. He's Paul Leazar. And until next time, see you guys down the road.
Have a good one, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.